Welcome back to the channel, guys. Today we are going to go over my Speed Duel deck profile. Now, once I saw the mats that were announced for the Speed Duel side events at the Remote Duel Extravaganza, I knew I had to have one. I wanted that Slifer mat. Speed Duels, not something I touched since it released. I bought a bunch of product when it first came out before I came back to Master Duels, and thought it was going to blow up, thought it'd be a great way to get in without having to, pay an arm and a leg to get back into the Master Duel format. I played a little bit with my girlfriend, taught her how to play actually using Speed Duels, but it never went anywhere. So everything got boxed up, pushed to the side, got back into Master Duel, everything started to collect dust. Now here we are, about 2 years later, and I decided to pick up a deck just so I can play in this past weekend's event to try and win one of those mats. And what do you know, we did it. It took me, third time's a charm, got into the two events, didn't do well. It's an 8-person max flight that is a single elimination event. So once you lose, you're out. So in my first two, I played against a couple decks. I'm going into this blind. I never had play testing really. I just did some research thanks to, the Speed Duel League Discord, a bunch of YouTube videos. I learned about what the format kind of looks like, what decks are big, what the skills are, but I really didn't know too much about it. So in the end, I, landed on the deck that I played. I felt prepared for two of the main decks, Magnets, from what I saw, and XYZ Union, and potentially Moth. But again, wasn't completely familiar with how they played. That's what I was expecting. In my first one, I played against a Relinquish deck. Now, when the game first started for Speed Duels, Relinquished was a pretty strong deck, but it didn't have nearly as much support as it does now with pre-prep to search it out and so forth. So I wasn't as prepared for it. I wasn't expecting it, and it showed. But I lost that 1-2. In our game 3, my opponent sided the skill to be able to Monster Reborn one of my monsters, took my Jinzo, bit me in the butt, and I lost that one. My second event, I ended up actually playing, I believe, the Mirror. I don't, have the details for everything memorized too well, but we lost that one as well. So I was a little discouraged. I decided to not play anymore. Went and started watching My Locals since that was going on. And then last minute, I decided, you know what? I need to give it one more shot. So I entered one more. My first round in this third event was versus Magnets. So I was excited to see that I was going against something that I was expecting to see. And, it went exactly how I wanted it to. Game 1, I was able to, prevent my opponent from ever building advantage with the Magnets, because from what I saw, being able to special summon with the field spell, pull out more monsters, eventually potentially get Valkyrie on board, that could get overwhelming. I was able to stop that from happening. Game 2, near the end of it, he had used Santa Claus on my Kaiser Glider that I had tribute summoned using his monster. And luckily I had an Offerings of the Doom for his monster to stop him from attacking into it and bouncing it back. And then I was able to draw a card from Santa Claus, which was my Lost Win. I got in for damage with Santa Claus. He was down to his last 400. He was able to get his monster, his beta, off of his field spell by special summoning it. He attacked with his beta. I was able to Lost Win in damage set for game. Took that first round. The next round, XYZ Union. I was ready for this. He was able to, keep up the pace on game 1. I wasn't really able to follow, so he took game 1. Games 2 and 3, he said he bricked, and I believe it. It's hard because he drew multiple Union monsters with nothing else to really go with that. And then in the finals, we played against a stall burn deck. But I opened, both games, I opened multiple breakers, just ways to deal with his back row. And the final turn of the last game, I was able to attack in for game. He flipped his Zoma. I had Book of Moon. That's all she wrote. And we got there. We got our Met. So I'm just going to quickly go over the deck that I used. A little bit of the choices of what I made on the choices that I made here. Sorry, excuse me. Yeah, let's get right into it. So starting with the main deck and the skill, we have, of course, Inner Conflict. What a great skill this is. Pay half your life once during the duel. In the main phase, take control of your opponent's monster. Can't attack directly. Most of the time, when you're taking it, you're tributing it. So it's not going to stay there. And you're either pushing for game or trying to establish a board and maintain control. Anyway, on to the monsters. We got Free Breaker. What an awesome card this is in this format. It clears off back row, of course, or baits out back row. Either a 19 beater or just a little 16 beater, but of course we have ways to support it. And we have 2 charging guys, so you can normal summon this guy without a tribute, becomes a 19 beater. That's your main purpose of it, is just to be able to, quickly apply pressure with bigger monsters, as well as support them with your spells and traps. Then I main decked 2 DD Crow. I thought it was interesting that this card is in the format, but I really didn't see many or any people playing it. I thought it would be great against Magnets, against XYZ Union. Magnets, you get rid of their target for their field spell. XYZ Union, if they dump one of their Union monsters to the grave using Foolish, or they have one in there, get rid of it before they can use their skill, because in this format you can't respond to skills. It's interesting, right? So in theory would be great. Worked out well for the 2 times that I did have it, that I didn't need it. Once was against my Relinquish matchup to get rid of their Sphere Karibo when they went for their ritual, so they were forced to use their breaker on board. Fortunately, it wasn't enough in that moment, but the idea was great. And then I used it against Magnets in such a case where they had their field spell, they summon, they target a monster, banish it, and that helped immensely. On to our tribute monsters. We have Kaiser Glider and Jinzo. Really interesting to me that Kaiser Glider is a big player in this format, because of course we never really saw it do anything in Master Duels when it came out, or at all. Little Baby Ra is great in this format, and I love to see that about Speed Duels, is that there's cards in this format that you may never see play in Master Duel, but they play a great role in this one. Then our final monster, we have Banisher. This should have been 2. Completely honest, I forgot to pick up my second one. That's all it was. I'd probably remove one of the DD Crows for it, potentially, or something else. Not too sure, but we'll see. On to our spells. We got 2 Offering of the Doom. Great spot removal. Most of the time you don't really care about missing your draw phase if you're established on your board, your control, but late game, if you're losing, you don't necessarily want to skip your draw phase unless you absolutely have to. If it saves you and you have some way to back it up, cool. Book of Moon, not much to say about this. Great card in general. Stops your opposing breakers from getting their counters. Maybe turns off their Jinzo if you need to. Banisher, so forth. Stop that Relinquish from taking your monster. Stop the Unions. There's a lot of applications for it. I just don't think I need to explain anymore. Then we have Cosmic Cyclone. Deal with their field spells, the Relinquish equip, whatever the case may be. Just general back row removal, great to have. A little dangerous in this format because you only get 4,000 life points, so you want to use it carefully. We have 2 Zoma the Spirit. What a cool card in this format. It's a body, it's burn. You have to be smart when you're playing against it. You have to be smart when you're using it. A lot of my times in my later games, I found myself end phase flipping it to have that beater. Then I have 2 Skill Successor. Just another way to be aggressive. There was one case where my opponent I had my breaker with its counter, so 19, they summoned their own Gaia. I had it, was able to save my breaker, go from there. Being able to recur it from the grave for the same effect later, nice to have. Last card, Dust Tornado, just another form of back row removal. That's it for the main deck there, and then we will quickly get into the side and extra deck, because with this, your side and extra deck is actually limited to 6 each. What's cool about the side deck is you can play skills. I didn't this time. Of course, again, played against my opponent who sided a skill, so I thought that was pretty cool. I don't know if I'd have an application for it in this, but we'll see. In the side deck, I have 2 Sphere Greba. Cool hand trap if you ever played Duel Links, you know why that's there. Preventing yourself from losing. Put your opponent's monster's defense, make them run easily to run over. Then we have Waking the Dragon. If you end up playing something similar to the Mirror Match or anybody that plays a lot of back row removal, great to have. Bring out a big body if they pop it. And then Lost Wind, another strong recurable trap card to prevent your opponent from, getting in with too big of damage on their special summon monsters or stopping their effects. General information like that. And then lastly, we have our extra deck, which is just 4 cards. Again, it's 6 is the limit, but I only had these 4. I really think I was fine with these. It is what it is. We have Ryu Senshi, Skull Knight, just because it'd probably be a Meteor Black Dragon, I believe is the name, just bigger beater. You want those with this. Then we have the big guy, Blue Eyes Ultimate Dragon, and Arcana Knight Joker. What a really cool card. If it ever came out, I'm sure it would have helped a lot, but it didn't come out, so it is what it is. Now, I will say, if you've never looked into Speed Duels, I feel like it doesn't get the attention it needs. Of course, we would love to see more products for it, more support, and I think it has the potential to be big, just not enough people looking at it. It was a really fun event, especially for my first time. I definitely feel like there is another one coming up at the end of May. I'm going to go for it again. Really fun format. And just need to play test a little more to understand it. There's a great community. I'll leave a link to the Discord below. Check it out. And thanks for watching, guys.